Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hey everyone, welcome to another recommendations video. And I put out the call asking for some video ideas. I was struggling with some content for the month of June. Also, I'm going to be gone for about a 10-week stretch, and so I'm going to need to get some stuff pre-filmed, which means I can't do what I've been doing, which is wake up the day before videos due and decide what the video will be. I need to plan some things, right? So maybe you're getting this one while I'm gone, and maybe I couldn't come up with something else and had to use it right away. I don't know. But this is a video that was requested in a bit of a roundabout way. I'll explain. I believe this viewer requested a, they labeled it as like the opposite of a book boyfriend. So like bad boys or bad boyfriends or something like that. I can't remember quite how it was worded, but it made me remember that in the past I've made a video that was called anti-book boyfriends. So basically the dark romance version, aka the ones you wouldn't want to bring home to mama. I've made kind of a video like that before. And that list, I went back to look at my video, which by the way is from 5 years ago. So I update my book boyfriends list probably like every other year because honestly, it hasn't shifted too much in recent years. Okay, so I haven't made one in a while of book boyfriends, so like my very favorites. Particularly my top 5 in that list has not changed. If I remember, I will tag that video. So there hasn't been a reason to redo it, you know, because it hasn't changed. And so I don't feel like it's, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a cheat to just remake the video now to get new views if all my thoughts are exactly the same. We'll see when we get near the end of the year if I have some to shuffle around on that list. But something that definitely has like, at least I have additions for that list is like my bad boys, you know, my anti-book boyfriends, or as we're going to call them in this one, red flag book boyfriends. Instead of saying anti-book boyfriend, which can get very long, like we're just going to say red flag book boyfriends, okay? Now, for the hefty amount of this list, it's straight up they're bad boys. It's straight up they're in dark romance, okay? Like 90% of these are. And the fact of them being in the dark romance, the fact of them being psychopaths, stalkers, or a little bit prone to violence is going to be what the red flag part of it is, okay? But I do have a few that are red flag because let's just say they would freak your mama out for biology reasons, not for their morally gray level, let's just say. And by that I mean I have a couple monsters on this list as well. Because I think my mama would be a bit disturbed by some of the limbs or not limbs that some of these guys have. So this is in no particular order, and as I said, I still stand by my list from 2020, which again, I will link that. Don't mind that video. I don't promise the quality is great. I just re-listened to it. The air conditioner was on while I was filming that, because I also filmed that one in the summer, so just be prepared. But I still stand by those recommendations, which were at that time inspired by Carter Mahoney, okay? Carter Mahoney very solidly inspired that video because I didn't feel comfortable putting him on a list with like Jamie Fraser and Tristan Miles, and well, Cade wasn't on that list at that time. He just doesn't, you know, quite fit that, right? There's very specific things I'm looking for in my book boyfriends and husbands, as it were. But for the red flag, this one does shift a bit more kind of based on what my taste, though in that list you will of course find Carter Mahoney on there as well as some other Mafia guys. I actually don't have too many Mafia picked for this one, just a couple. But we're going to go through these, and I'll have links to all their books down below, and let's just dive in. So these ones aren't in any particular order. I'm just going to go through, and in fact, they kind of go from like most recent to back. I don't know, maybe not. We'll see as we go. So starting at the top here, I do have the most recent edition, which is Kane from Beautiful Venom. Yes, there's another book from Marina Kent that will be on this list because she's just written some absolutely delicious villains. By the way, one other thing, I also have a few videos that are like villain gets the girl, and a lot of these guys show up on those books as well, right? Or in those book rec lists as well. So I actually did just get my Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I pre-ordered this months ago. And I love this one, although I think I'm going to get the Target one too and have like all 3 editions of these because it's beautiful. But yeah, this one I won't go into too much depth about this just because I've talked about it on like the last 3 or 4 videos I've done since I've read it, so I don't feel like I need to go through the whole hubbub of it. But needless to say, you know, Marina Kent really comes in strong with these guys that just are absolute psychos. They're so twisted, but yet as you start to peel them back, you see all those little vulnerable pieces, you see what made them as they are, and maybe you start to have some warm and fuzzies. And Kane is someone particularly that, in a bit different than at least some of the Legacy of the Gods heroes, who for the most part all have really good parents because they're second generation ones. Kane has an awful parent, okay? He has just an absolute dick of a dad who's tortured him to prepare him for his role as head of the family and kind of head of this like secret organization, whatever. And we have Dahlia, who is trying to infiltrate this secret society to get revenge for her foster sister, who is literally in a coma because of the shenanigans of this place, right? Of this group. And she is willing to do pretty much whatever she has to get revenge for her sister, including putting herself literally in Kane's line of fire and needing to do whatever he tells her so she can initiate into this group. And a lot of that involves being at his sexual beck and call and dealing with his whims, as it were, with that, including very early on in the book, a pretty brutal fucking that happens that I think will, I mean, I don't think it'll necessarily scare people away if you've read other Marina Kents. But it definitely puts Kane in a place where you're like, how will you make me like him, right? And that's something I've really enjoyed about the Marina Kent books I've read in the last few years, is how she ends up making me love them. And by the end of this one, the way that Kane comes out like triumphant against his father, as well as proving to Dahlia that he does have feelings, he can feel, and that he does care about her. And I just really like how that all came out for us. So also, of course, we have included some hockey and some other crazy twisted fuckers that I'm sure we'll get to know in the books coming up. And while we're with Marina Kent, we will go to my other red flag boyfriend, which is Nico. He just has to be on there. Okay, this is a 6-star read for me. This is my favorite Marina Kent that I've read, and it is just a standout. It is head and shoulders above her others. And there are 2 heroes in this one, but I definitely would consider Brand more of a, like, good boyfriend. But I would consider Nico the red flag, though he does have a soft and squishy side. He actually is probably the like funnest of the heroes, though that doesn't mean he isn't, you know, disturbed in certain ways, that he doesn't have mental health struggles, that he is, you know, a bit unhealthy in his thinking and in some of the patterns that he takes habit in. But when he sets his eyes on Bran, who is his lotus flower, and he like Nico is kind of like bisexual, and I say kind of, like, he's bisexual, but also it's more like, I don't know, is pansexual? I don't know. We'll just go with bisexual because that's kind of what he's identified in here. But basically it's like he's willing to dominate anyone. That's what we mean, is he is an equal opportunist, and not even dom as in like capital D dom, but just like he likes to fuck and he'll fuck anyone. He'll fuck any hole you've got for him. And then when he catches, like when Bran catches his attention, it's an older guy, but he just sees there's more to him than what he's showing, and he wants to get under that skin, literally as well as figuratively, and find out what makes him tick and kind of just pick him apart and pull at the seams. And what happens is actually very good for both of them in a way, because Bran is definitely hiding some things, and things even his family doesn't know. And so having Nico kind of confront that in him really does force that up to the surface. But yeah, he definitely would be very intense to have as a partner. And I'm not saying that it would be healthy or smart, but there's just something about Nico that I don't know, he's so charming on top of all of that. And I mean, he may have a bit of like, I just feel like he has the least amount of psychopathy kind of as all the guys in the series too. He's just more lovable, though he's still crazy and he still sometimes just wants to fight and he likes to run around naked a lot of times, but there's something very charming about him that I love. So I'm just saying it. All right. Now I'm going to throw one up here that, I don't necessarily have a very specific version of this character that I mean, though I'm going to show probably the most commonly known version of this character, and maybe you know what I mean by saying version of a character. But one of the red flag book boyfriends that just has to be high up on the list is Draco Malfoy. And so now you see what I mean, because aka in some dark versions of fan fiction that I have read. So Manacled is probably the most well known. I'm so intrigued to see what the version of Draco in Alchemized will look like. I've never wished for the end of summer to come so fast as I do to get my hands on that story. We shall see how that goes. But when I read Draco in fan fiction, he's not always of the red flag variety, but in most of the dark ones, he is. You know, whether it's the Draco in here who is the High Reeve, who's the right hand of Voldemort, and who becomes kind of the owner of Hermione, it is a lot to handle. There's also the version that he is in Love in the Time of the Zombie Apocalypse, which, I mean, both of those versions of Draco are, I will let the world be a husk, except for you, you know, and, you know, I thought that the Draco in Manacled was like that, and then I read, Love in the Time of the Zombie Apocalypse, and that Draco is even like, guys, that one, you gotta read that fic, okay? You've got to. Not only is it the best, like, adventure fanfic I've read with, like, a fully, like, thought-out, overarching plot to it all, but that Draco and Hermione, like, they have such a believable, like, slow burn to me. Plus, we have zombies, but because we are in a wizarding world as well, there are both, like, Muggle zombies and wizard zombies, and they react different and do different things, and it's just also effed up. And Draco is only trying to help humanity because of Hermione for a lot of the story, right? And often in the darker romances, Draco is a very powerful wizard who only does good because he loves a good woman, which is also what we call the what's it just called? The morality chain, right? Like, Draco Malfoy is 99% of the time a morality chain, and Hermione is his link to said morality, and it's fantastic. So, had to put him up there. All right, then we actually have a duo, and we can't separate them. We have to put them together, because that's how Frankie likes them best and how I like them best, too. And we have Cody and Leo from the Frozen Fate trilogy. Now, this is a Why Choose series, and there is more than just Cody and Leo. But what I will say is that when we are looking for a red flag, I would say that Cody and Leo are definitely much more the red flag than the third person who is in this Why Choose scenario. That one is a little more put together and would probably be an acceptable choice to bring home to mama. But we have Cody and Leo who have been raised pretty much their entire lives in this frozen wasteland where they were abused and mistreated. Won't go into the details of that, not only because it's a spoiler, but also because we're not going to go into the details here and now about it. But they are just barely civil. And when Frankie ends up there because she's kidnapped by their father, they want nothing to do with her. They make that known. They almost try to chase her away. They wish she would hurt herself. They wish she would go. And Frankie can't quite figure out why that is, but she also doesn't want to be there either. So it's kind of like, F you guys. I don't wish that I was here. I don't want to force myself upon you. Help me get out of here. And they're like, chick, don't you think if we knew how to get out of here that we wouldn't be here either? But as, you know, they're forced to spend time around each other and they're forced to rely on each other for survival, you really see just the beauty and the tenderness in these men come out. But on further books in the series, when we say, let's say they interact with more people besides Frankie, we'll just word it that way, we see the unhingedness and the animalistic natures of them that comes out. Because they've just haven't learned how to regulate that or how to deal with other people to a certain degree. So I think that would make them very much red flags. They're also extremely possessive. They're like, don't even look her in the eye type of possessive. And that can get on your nerves sometimes. Like, that can get on your nerves sometimes. And it's very difficult for some readers to eventually even want Cody and Leo around. But to me, they are still just such excellent characters, and every time I flip back through these books and annotate them for patrons, there's just something about them that truly touches me in a way that can't be explained easily, shall we say. They're just wonderful. Okay, next up. You know we had to have a San Mariano, and I still stand by that Carter Mahoney is the #1 red flag book boyfriend of all time for me. That is where he is, that's where he sits, that's where he stays. But I recently just reflipped through back through this one to annotate for someone, and every time I do, I'm reminded that I do also like this guy quite a bit, and that's actually Landon from Contempt. So this is Coastal Elite's book #3. You should read these books in order. However, if you want to just read one of the books, you could read this as a standalone. But if you plan to read past this book, I suggest you start at the beginning and read these. Book 1 is a full-length book, but book 2, which is actually about Landon's dad, and what's her name? Landon and Parker. It's about Landon's dad and Parker's mom. And Landon had actually been a bully of Parker's for many years. And then their parents actually meet because of something Landon did that really fucked with Parker. And so Landon's dad, Hayden, goes to talk to Parker's mom to try to resolve things. You know, he is a lawyer and he's trying to get his son, you know, out of trouble with this woman. And they actually meet and fall in love. And so now, unfortunately for Parker, she now is going to have to live with her bully. And she really wants to make it work because she sees how happy Hayden makes her mom, and she even likes Hayden. And the thing is, too, she actually did like Landon at one point. She had a crush on him when they were younger. But ever since his mom died, he just hasn't been right. You know, he hasn't gotten the therapy that he needs, shall we say. He's been a little bit out of it. And he's absolutely obsessed with Parker, though the way that portrays itself is as a bully. But what's cool in this one, okay, what's cool in this one is that this one is a multiple POV story. And so we get little peeks into Landon, and we know from the jump that he's obsessed with Parker. And a lot of the things he's done that seem like bullying are an extreme version of tugging on her braids so that she'll pay attention to me. And a lot of what he does is attention seeking. He's just teeters on the edge of being a psychopath, and so there are very extreme versions of those things, right? I wouldn't call Landon a psychopath in the way that some of her other characters are, but he definitely needs some therapy, and he definitely pushes things way too far, and he's a red flag of all red flags. But the good part for Parker is that when she does start to fall for Landon, not only does he take very good care of her once he does like her, but it's not like her mom can forbid her from seeing him because it's her stepson too, and or will be her stepson, and they live with him. So, you know, for Parker, once things become good, they become really good, right? Okay, next up, now we're getting into some, not all of them yet are throwbacks. We have another one that's still newer, but this is a good throwback one for a red flag, and that is Daario from Run, Posey, Run. Yes, this is an oldie but a goodie. It's not even too long. This one is Mafia, and you can read this one as a standalone. There is a second one, Nikki the Driver, but I'm sorry, in my opinion, it doesn't even hold a candle to this book. This book is fascinating on so many levels. We won't go into all of it, but to explain why it's called Run, Posey, Run, we have Daario, who is a power behind the throne of a mafia, okay? He's a numbers guy. He kind of runs the stock markets, kind of runs the game, and he makes a lot of money for his mafia. And there's a chick that is his side piece right now. Her name is Posey, and he's pretty into her. He likes playing chess with her. He likes having her as someone pretty on his arm and fucking him whenever he needs it. But then he gets given some information that makes it look like Posey has cheated on him. Now, he doesn't think it over for more than a hot second, because if he did, he would totally notice how this has been faked. And he just immediately jumps to kicking her out. And, you know, normally if you wrong the mafia guy, you could end up dead. And Posey knows this. In fact, she has actually been with other mafia men before. She kind of has had no choice, right? She is a woman who uses her body, uses her talents to keep men. Like, she is kind of a professional mistress at this. Like, that's what she's had to do for survival, okay? I think her dad was like a lower level guy in it or whatever, but she thought Daario was fantastic because he didn't ask too much of her. He spoiled her, and he wanted to play chess with her, and he bought her things, and now all of a sudden he thinks she cheated. And this situation where he throws her out and basically runs her out of town is really a wake-up call, because she's like, you know what? I have just been accepting that men are in control of me for too long. And so she tries to make a go of it herself. Only very quickly, Daario discovers that he was wrong. And also now he wants his toy back. And so now he's going to go try and get her back, whether she wants to come back or not. So Daario is definitely a red flag. Sorry, there's someone right outside my window taking photos of their car. So. Okay, that's awkward and everything, but, he's definitely a red flag, but I just love so much about it. We'll move on. We'll move along. We got others to cover. Okay. Then we have, Gerard in Sovereign. His name is Gerard Sovereign. And this guy is basically the head of a cowboy mafia type scenario. He's a very wealthy rancher, and he slowly is taking over all the properties around him. And one of the last properties he needs actually belongs to Kira's husband. And Kira's husband is an absolute douche canoe. And he kind of manipulated her out of her family land when he married her not long after her father died. She was very young. She didn't have anyone else to turn to. And so she agreed to do it for her safety. And now her husband basically just treats her like a pretty face. He doesn't have any affection for her. He fucks her when he wants to, but he doesn't pay any attention to her. And it's just very heartbreaking, truly. She's just a ghost of who she used to be, basically. But then Gerard comes by her house to have a business talk with her husband. And when he catches a look of her, this is the first time he's really seen her full on. He wants her. And Sovereign is a dom, so he wants her as his submissive. And he also wants to take something away from Kira's husband. He wants what he has, basically. And he also knows he'd take better care of her too. Anyway, and so it isn't long after this meeting, in fact, just a day or so, that Kira's husband ends up dead. And not long again after that, Kira discovers that her husband owed tons of money to Sovereign. And he's so willing to let her pay it off if she will be his submissive for a year. Then he will clear away the debt. So definitely a red flag there, trying to use sexual manipulation to get her to do what he wants. But it's also a really beautiful story, and I love how BDSM is used in it. I think it's really, really good one. Okay, then I have a historical one for you, and then we'll get to some of the monsters. Although I think a lot of these men are monsters in different ways, right? We have David from Her Villain, and this is another psychopath here. We have a hero who he is actually an assassin, and he has very specific jobs that he does. He lacks emotion, which makes him a very efficient agent for the crown. And he is very ruthless and cold. And then he meets Calliope Fowler, who is really on her last leg, basically. She, not too long ago, was actually forced into sex work. Her father had died, and he basically left her with nothing. And she wants to move to America and have a new life, but she doesn't have enough money to do that. So she very calculatedly knew that she could either work herself to the bone in a workhouse, or she could use her good looks that she has for a short amount of time to be a sex worker and then take that money and start a new life. And she has saved up quite a bit of money until the brothel that she works at actually closes down. And also her roommate steals all of her money. She didn't hide it very well, and her roommate finds it and leaves her with nothing. So now the brothel's closed, which was a pretty good brothel compared to others in town. And at the same time that everything's closing down, David actually shows up at this brothel to hire someone for the night or the weekend or whatever. And Calliope basically throws herself on this, and she's like, yes, I will do it. I really need this position. And he's like, sure, she's pretty. I'll bring her home. And he actually has plenty of fun time fucking her. And he actually likes not only fucking her, but fucking with her head a little bit and convincing her to be paid to do some acts that she normally wouldn't do. And again, he kind of gets a kick out of the fact that she doesn't like it, but she's submitting to it for money. He's fucked up, okay? This is red flag material, right? And he's only planning to keep her for the weekend. And she's actually trying to convince him to keep her as like a mistress while he's in town. Because he said he's only going to be in town for, I can't remember, it's 6 weeks, a month, while he's doing a job. And again, she doesn't have anywhere else to go. She would have to probably be working off the street if he kicks her out. And so he isn't going to keep her, but he keeps her for the weekend. And then something happens. They play chess. And she lets him win. And he can tell that she let him win. And he is just a bit shook by this and is like, you let me win. And she's like, I mean, men don't tend to like it when a woman beats them at what they consider a man's game. And he's like, okay, no, we're playing again. Don't do that. Like, I want to beat you because I beat you. And they play again, and she whoops him immediately. And now he is amused. He is highly amused. And he says, you know what? I'm going to hire you for the whole time that I'm here. And I want you to play chess with me every night. And then we'll fuck. And during the day, you can do whatever you want. And now he's intrigued because it's not only a woman who's letting him do whatever he wants to her body, but she's also stimulating his mind. So this is a fascinating read. It's something that SM LaViolette does amazingly. This is an erotic historical romance, and it is a book 5 in a series. It's 5 or 6 in a series, but they don't really follow each other much at all. They kind of bounce all over. So you're not missing anything if you start right with this one, because the connecting characters are very slim, at least between this one and some others. A few of the earlier ones lead right into each other, but this one is just pulled out of nowhere, basically. But yeah, he's definitely a red flag, but there are some, I love that book so much. Okay, now let's get to a few monsters before we wrap this up. So my probably number one paranormal red flag of a boyfriend, I'm sure you can guess, is the legend of old here. We have Loair. Enemy of Old, sorry, Loair, Enemy of Old, or Leo is his nickname, and this is a part of the Immortals After Dark series. I'm actually very excited because my friend is doing a book club, and they're working their way through these books, and I believe that June is the month that we're doing Loair, and I've said, please include me when you do the book club for Loair, because I adore him, even though he's absolutely psycho. And yeah, he's just a baddie, okay? He's planning to take Elizabeth, who he believes that his fated mate is actually indwelling, because he believes his fated mate is this goddess of death who doesn't have her own body. She's cursed to only share bodies with other people. And she's been inhabiting Elizabeth's body. And when he first sees Elizabeth, who will just come out and say it, Elizabeth is his mate, he thinks it's Soroya who is indwelling her body. And he has some work to do in his grand plan before he is able to take her as his bride. And the thing too is that Soroya is not interested in men at all. And she doesn't want to be with Loair. And she's smart enough to realize that it's actually the human meat suit she's using that is his mate. And she's smart enough to tell that right away. And she is going to do what she has to do to make Loair believe that it's her. And so that means that eventually our poor Elizabeth ends up in prison because of some things that Soroya uses the body to do. And she even ends up on death row, which pisses Loair off quite a bit. And so he ends up taking her prisoner then for the last days until he's able to purge Elizabeth's soul from her body. And then Soroya will get to keep it forever, and he'll be happy ever after with his mate. So as you can tell, absolute asshole. Absolute asshole. But you know what? Elizabeth isn't going to let him have an easy time. And this sassy little hick of a human woman is going to put the Enemy of Old in his place. Okay? In his place. All right? Yes, this is also the book that has both a bloody eat out session and it also has a bloody BJ, okay? But I will remind you that Loair is not the first book in the series that has a bloody BJ, okay? Book 1 actually has the first bloody BJ, okay? Just saying. All right, then we have my dear sweet, and the only reason he's on red flag is because of the body parts he has, which scares everyone from Kingdom Come, and that is my sweet Katon, okay? Yes, he shows up on my regular book boyfriend list sometimes too. But for those of you who just can't believe that he is as sweet and precious as he truly is, look at him as my anti-book boyfriend then, okay? Yes, he has, multiple legs and arms. Yes, he can spin silk, but he can make that silk into clothes for his bride, okay? Yes, he has an extremely large dick with fun little things coming out of the tip. But the more pleasure for the lady, okay? Would my mom absolutely faint dead away and die if I brought home the Spider-Man alien as my beau? Yes, she would. She absolutely would. But he'd be so sweet and he would take such good care of me that I'm sure she could win him over. Now, just in case you didn't know in this one, we have Ivy who has crash landed on this alien planet. She's there with other humans, but she happens to be the only one who wakes up. And Katon, when he is out exploring, he is a Vrix, V-R-I-X, who actually lives on his own away from his colony for the most part because of reasons. He comes across Ivy and he thinks she is an animal of some kind that he's never seen before, and he wants to keep her as a pet and keep her safe. And they go through a whole bunch of ups and downs, of miscommunication, of trying to understand each other's bodily functions, as it were. So there's a lot of misses in here, but they are also deeply, deeply falling in love, and it is beautiful to see. But yes, I think Katon can very easily go on both a book boyfriend list and a red flag book boyfriend list. It's up to you. And I decided to be quirky and put him on this one, okay? And the last monster to share, this one, I think it's more fair to call him a red flag because he is soft only for his love, okay? He is soft only for his love. And that is Win from Soul Eater, okay? There are some other monsters in this series that I think are more like Katon and are very sweet and would honestly fit more of a book boyfriend list. But Win is about as prickly and yeah, about as prickly and unfeeling as you can get. And it really is only Danny who, his adorable little human that he adopts, that keeps him contained. Though when the Soul Eater does have a purpose on this dystopian Earth where monsters roam, he does have a purpose that humans could not comprehend and not realize that he's actually there to help them in a certain aspect. But Danny, who has been recruited forcibly into the armed forces at this time, is used as bait to try to trap Wynn. And Wynn actually ends up allowing himself to be caught in the beginning of this because he wants to know more about Danny. And when he gets captured, he demands that he only speak with Danny, and these interactions begin. And not long after Wynn has been captured, there's something that actually breaks open all the doors at this prison, and Wynn saves only Danny, and they are now on a road trip together where they will fall in love. Now, Wynn has some very interesting anatomy, including horns and blackened fingers and a cock pocket, as it were. Okay, his male part can neither be an innie or an outie, as it were. We'll just say, and that leads us to some very sexy situations. We'll just put it out there. Okay, we'll just put it out there. Lily Mayne likes to give us some very interesting monster anatomy, shall we say. So there we go, everyone. There is my red flag book boyfriends currently. I'm sure there's some that I forgot, but definitely check out my lists of villain gets the girl or villain gets their love. I have both on those, of course, as well as I said, the previous video I made from 5 years ago with some of the anti-book boyfriends on there. And let me know some of your favorites. I would love to hear. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.